do this video. Thank you. This is just a quick video here, right? So when I obviously for those who have a foundation reading the Bible, and remember how you had let's see, you had the Israelites, you had the situation where Jacob was somewhere with the family, and then you had Joseph who was actually in Egypt, and then they were storing up corn. Remember, they were storing up a bunch of corn, and then when the famine actually came through, then because of the knowledge and wisdom that Joseph had, they were able to actually feed everyone else. Everyone was able to come there where Joseph was to actually buy corn, and things like that. So when you're not necessarily familiar with the culture or certain cultures, for example, because I think it was written where it says you will not have those types of things, meaning they will be taken away from you from a cellular perspective, and you would have to do what is required to awaken it up in you again, of course. But most people coming from certain places think they're talking about like corn, like the actual corn on a cob type thing. But you see this here, depending upon where you are, this is actually corn, right? This is actually corn. So this is a traditional meal. If you speak Shona, then they call it what do they call it in Shona? And Shona and Ndebele are languages that they speak in Zimbabwe, but they call it salsa. So it's called salsa. If you're in, say, what they call South Africa, they call it pop. If you're in any of those countries, if you're in Zambia, they call it shima, but it's the same exact thing. So this is actually corn. So this is what they were storing up, and this is what they were feeding people. Remember, even Jacob, when he was blessing his sons, and he was talking about sustaining what Judah with corn and wine. So wherever Judah, the lands of Judah are, you will notice that they eat a lot of corn. So you will find that this is part of the meals that are being eaten. And let me show you how they do it. So basically you grab a piece like this, and then because it's very hot, right? So you would just basically put it into a ball like this. You would make it into a ball, right? So you'll put it into a ball, and because I'm a vegetarian, obviously, this is this is how I do it. And then you just kind of grab it with whatever it is that you're consuming, and then you eat it like that. And you just take a bite, and if you have some of this left, then you'll just kind of grab it with whatever it is that you're eating again. One of the other things that I think is important is the information with eating with your hands, because the energy from you is actually going into the food that you're consuming. And that's why in certain of our Oriental ways, of course, we knew that it was not good to eat from certain people based upon the energy that they have, because the energy that they have is actually going into the food, and you're actually consuming that as a resource, and then you end up feeling the way that they're feeling. That's the reason why they say, look, guys, it's not good to eat so-called fast food a lot. And depending upon your work where you are, fast food is considered like burgers and fries and stuff, right? Because the people who are working in those places are not happy because of the wages and the amount of work that they're doing for the compensation and so forth. So you're actually eating that energy, if you get what I'm trying to explain. So eating with your hands is actually a good thing, because you're actually consuming your energy into the food, and this is how you can make it, better for you, of course. And you'll find that this is what you have in certain areas here. So, but what I wanted to do this video to show you, and don't forget that it's important to put salt on whatever it is that you're consuming. Because what salt does, Like for example, say if you're in an area and there's flies. So if flies is flying around your food, and if it lands on your food, then a fly releases something called it releases something so it can dissolve the food that it or whatever it lands on, so it can consume it as a liquid. So that stuff that it releases, it actually is what develops maggots. Do you get what I'm saying? So it's very important to add the salt. So that's the reason why in the DNA hygiene instructions, what people call the law, it says, look, whatever that thou consumest for nutrients, make sure that it always has salt on it. And that's the reason why, is because salt kills the larva. That's what it is. It's larva. So a fly releases larva, and the larva actually is what becomes maggots if something decays or something like that. But when you add salt, do you get what I'm saying? Then that's what kills the larva. So that's the reason why you're always supposed to add salt to whatever it is that you're consuming. Do you get what I'm trying to explain? So the divine DNA hygiene instructions is perfect. So I just wanted to show you what corn is. This is actually corn. They call it maize in certain areas, of course, but this is how they consume it. They, you just do it into a ball like this, right? And then you just take a bite of it. Do you get what I'm saying? And then this is the corn. So now it makes sense, when you read the word. This is why it's important to travel, because you can kind of make it real and you can understand what you are doing and adhering to a lot better, if that kind of makes sense. So that's the reason why I wanted to do this video, to show you this traditional meal. Obviously, I don't eat flesh, so this is just veggies. Some people will call it mario. Some people might call it, whatever. But it's just a veggie mixture here, and then I use it with this, of course, and that's what I'm basically consuming. But I wanted to show you what corn actually is. So I really wanted you to get something out of this video, so you can kind of understand, what it means when it says wherever those people are, they would be sustained by corn. And this is one of the main, they call it a staple food, and it's corn. Corn is the staple food. So when you think of like corn on the cob, it's like there's no way that they were just out there just selling corn on the cob. Even though they do that, there's a way that they kind of roast the corn and so forth and so on. And some people call it chibagi, the roasted street corn. And so forth and so on. But this is the major way that corn is consumed, is like this. Okay, I'll see you in the next video.